On my wedding night, I opened the hotel room door and found my husband in bed with my mother. No knocking, no warning. 1 second I was a new bride, the next second my whole life was a joke. They didn't hear me come in. The bedside lamp was on, the curtains were half drawn. The air in the room was warm and heavy. On the bed, my husband's bare back was moving, pressed over the body of a woman beneath him. The white hotel sheet was tangled around their waists. His hands were on her shoulders, his mouth on her neck. For one brief, stupid moment, my brain tried to protect me. Maybe it's not him. Maybe it's not her. Maybe this is not my room. Then he lifted his head slightly, and I saw his face. Abu Bey, my husband, the same man who had promised me forever at the altar that afternoon. My eyes dropped to the woman under him, her legs half covered by the sheet, her fingers clutching his arm. She turned her head, gasping, and the light fell full on her face. My mother, Mama Onyinye. Time stopped. My hand was still on the door handle. My veil slid off my hair and dropped to the floor, but I didn't feel it. My heart was beating so loudly I could hear it in my ears, but the room itself was silent. Even the air conditioner sounded far away. "Mummy?" I heard myself say, but my voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Abu Bey froze. He twisted around, eyes wide, his body still tangled with hers. In that split second, all three of us were locked together by the same horror. His mouth opened and closed, searching for a lie big enough to cover naked truth. "Kamsi," he choked. It's not what you think." My mother scrambled, grabbing the sheet to cover her chest, her face crumpling in a way I had never seen in my life. "Kamsi, warm, please," she whispered. "Listen to me. I can explain. I beg you, just listen." I started to laugh. It wasn't real laughter. It was the kind that cracks out of a person when something inside them snaps. Hot tears blurred my vision. I took one step into the room, feeling my wedding dress drag through their scattered clothes. "Explain what?" I asked quietly. "Explain how my husband is on top of you on my wedding bed. Explain how the two people I trusted most in this world chose tonight of all nights to betray me." Voices were rising in the corridor now. Someone must have heard me shout. A door opened, footsteps, a woman's sharp intake of breath, then another, then a man's angry voice. "What is happening there? Who is crying?" But I didn't look back. I kept my eyes on the two of them, my mother clutching the sheet, my husband still half naked, shame all over his face. Slowly, I pulled off my ring. The metal was suddenly too tight, too heavy. My fingers trembled, but I forced it over the knuckle and held it up for them both to see. "Tonight, the two of you killed something," I said. My voice was shaking, but each word landed like a stone. "You killed my trust. You killed my respect. You killed every dream I had about this marriage, and about you as my mother." "Kamsi, please," my mother sobbed. "Don't talk like that. I am still your mother." I threw the ring. It hit Abu Bey's chest and fell somewhere between the sheet and the floor. "You were my mother," I said. "You were my husband, not anymore." Faces were now at the door. Phones were already raised. Someone screamed, "Jesus!" Someone else shouted, "Abomination!" Auntie Ifeoma pushed past, saw the scene and wailed, slapping her head with both hands. I couldn't breathe. The room, the hotel, the whole world felt too small to contain the pain inside me. I turned away before my knees gave out under me. As I stepped back into the corridor in my white wedding gown, people moved away from me like I was carrying fire. Tears ran down my face, washing away the last traces of bridal makeup. That was the moment my marriage ended. That was the moment my mother died in my heart. And if you want to understand how we reached that bed, that room, that abomination on my wedding night, we have to go back to where it all began. The compound gate creaked open, and Abu Bey stepped through with his wedding suit draped over his arm. He had come to meet his future mother-in-law for the first time, the woman who had raised the love of his life. Kamsi had warned him, "My mother is particular. She'll ask you everything, just be yourself, and she'll love you." But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. Mama Onyinye appeared on the veranda, wiping her hands on her wrapper. The afternoon sun caught her face and time seemed to stop. She wasn't what he expected. Not old, not weathered by grief as Kamsi had described. She was striking, beautiful in a way that made his chest tighten. Her eyes held depth, sadness, yes, but also something that called to him. Her movements were graceful, unhurried. "You must be Ebu Bey," she said, her voice warm and steady. He couldn't speak, his mouth went dry, all the rehearsed greetings vanished from his mind. "Yes, Ma." The words came out rougher than intended. She smiled and something in him shifted. He felt it like a stone dropping into deep water, the ripples spreading outward, disturbing everything. "Come inside, you're welcome." As he followed her into the house, he tried to focus on why he was there. Kamsi, his bride-to-be, the wedding in 3 months. But his eyes kept betraying him, drawn to the sway of Mama Onyinye's wrapper, the elegant line of her neck, the silver threading through her hair that only made her more beautiful. "What is wrong with me?" he thought, panic rising in his chest. This was his future mother-in-law. This was forbidden. This was impossible. But his heart didn't care about any of that. Mama Onyinye had been alone for 3 years. 3 years since the pneumonia took her husband in the space of 2 weeks. 3 years since the burial, when the compound had been full of mourners, and then suddenly terribly empty. At first, the loneliness had been sharp, like broken glass in her chest. She would wake in the night, reaching for Nonso's warmth, and find only cold sheets. She would cook his favorite meals by habit, then stare at the extra portion, unable to eat it, unable to throw it away. But grief, she discovered, was not constant. It came in waves, and between the waves were long stretches of numbness. Wake up, sweep the compound, fetch water, cook, eat alone, sleep alone, repeat. The numbness was worse than the grief. Her friends had stopped visiting as frequently. In the beginning, they came every week, bringing food, bringing company, bringing their loud sympathy. But widowhood, she learned, made people uncomfortable. It reminded them of their own fragility. Slowly, the visits became monthly, then occasional, then rare. Her daughter Kamsi had tried to convince her to move in with her. "Mama, you shouldn't be alone in that big compound. Come and stay with me." But Mama Onyinye had refused. This house held her memories. Nonso's chair still sat in the parlor. His clothes still hung in the wardrobe, though she'd finally washed them and folded them away. His tools still leaned against the kitchen wall. She couldn't leave them. Leaving felt like betrayal. So she stayed, and the loneliness grew roots. She filled her days with church activities. She joined the women's fellowship, the choir, the prayer warriors. She volunteered to cook for every function, to clean the sanctuary, to visit the sick. Anything to avoid going home to the silence. But at night, the silence always won. She would lie in her bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the compound settle around her, the creak of the roof, the rustle of lizards in the rafters, the distant bark of a dog. Sounds that used to comfort her now felt like mockery. "You are alone," they seemed to say, "and you will always be alone." She tried to pray, she tried to read her Bible, she tried to find peace in God's promises, but at 3 in the morning, when the darkness pressed in and the bed felt too big and too empty, faith was a cold comfort. The truth was simple and brutal. Mama Onyinye was dying of loneliness. Not the dramatic kind, the slow kind, the kind that erodes you bit by bit until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the hollow-eyed woman staring back. She was 43 years old, too young to be a widow, too young to feel this ancient, too young to accept that the rest of her life would be lived in the shadow of what she'd lost. And then one Saturday afternoon, Kamsi came home with news. "Mama, I'm getting married." Mama Onyinye looked up from the vegetables she was cutting, the knife suspended in mid-air. Married? To who? "His name is Ebu Bey. He's a teacher. Mathematics." "Mama, he's wonderful." Kamsi's eyes shone with a light Mama Onyinye hadn't seen in years. "I'm so happy." Tell me about him." And as Kamsi talked, spinning tales of kindness and intelligence and love, Mama Onyinye felt something cold settle in her stomach. Not jealousy, not quite, but something close to it. Envy. Her daughter was moving forward into life while she remained stuck in death. Kamsi would have what Mama Onyinye had lost: partnership, companionship, someone to wake up beside. And Mama Onyinye would remain alone. "He wants to come meet you next week," Kamsi said. "Is that okay?" "Of course, my daughter." The smile came easily. She'd had 3 years of practice faking it. "I'm so happy for you." But that night, alone in her bed, Mama Onyinye cried. Not for her late husband, but for herself, for the lonely years stretching ahead, for the life she would never have again, for the terrible, shameful envy she felt toward her own daughter. She didn't know then how dangerous loneliness could be. She didn't know that a week later, a man would walk through her gate and change everything. She didn't know that her daughter's happiness would become her own destruction. She only knew that she was tired. So tired. And desperately, desperately alone. Ebube arrived exactly at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Mama Onyinye watched from the window as his car pulled up to the gate. He was younger than she'd expected, early 30s perhaps, tall and well-built, with the kind of easy confidence that came from being comfortable in his own skin. She took a breath and stepped onto the veranda. "Good afternoon, Ma," he called out, approaching with a bag of gifts. "I'm Ebube. It's an honor to meet you." And that's when it happened. Their eyes met. And something shifted in the air between them. It wasn't attraction, not yet. It was recognition, like two people who'd been wandering separate deserts, suddenly spotting each other across the sand. "I see you," his eyes seemed to say. "I see you and you're not invisible." Mama Onyinye felt it like a physical touch. After 3 years of being unseen, someone was actually looking at her. Not as Kamsi's mother, not as a widow, not as a church volunteer or a grieving woman to be pitied, as a person. "Welcome," she managed, her voice steadier than she felt. "Come inside." The next hour passed in a blur of polite conversation. Ebube talked about his work, his family, his intentions toward Kamsi, all the right things, all the proper words, but underneath there was a current, a pull. Mama Onyinye found herself noticing details she shouldn't notice. The way his hands moved when he talked, the sound of his laugh, the intelligence in his eyes. "Stop," she told herself. "This is your daughter's fiancé. Stop." But she couldn't. When he left, she stood in the parlor for a long time, staring at the chair where he'd sat. Something had been awakened. Something that should have remained buried. That night, Kamsi called. "Mama, what did you think? Did you like him? He seems nice." "Nice? Mama, that's all? I was hoping you'd love him." "I'm sure I will. Give me time to get to know him." But even as she said it, Mama Onyinye knew the truth. She was already getting to know him, in ways she had no right to, and worse, she wanted to know more. Ebube came back, not just once, but again and again over the following weeks. Sometimes with Kamsi, sometimes alone, bringing this excuse or that, needing advice on traditional marriage rites, asking about Kamsi's favorite foods, requesting guidance on dealing with her extended family. Each visit, the pull grew stronger. They would sit in the parlor, maintaining proper distance, and talk about everything, about nothing. He told her about losing his father young, about the loneliness of being the man of the house at 17. She told him about the silence of widowhood, about feeling invisible. They understood each other in a way that felt dangerous, forbidden. One evening, 3 weeks after they'd first met, Kamsi had to work late at the bank. Ebube showed up anyway. "I was in the area," he said. "Thought I'd stop by." He wasn't in the area. Mama Onyinye knew it. He knew she knew it, but she let him in anyway. They sat in the parlor as the sun set, the room growing darker around them. "I should turn on the lights," Mama Onyinye said, but didn't move. "Not yet," Ebube replied quietly. The darkness felt intimate, Safe, like a cocoon where they could be honest without the harsh light of reality. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "Are you happy?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean? Are you happy?" "With your life, with how things are." No one had asked her that, not in 3 years. They asked if she was managing, if she was coping, if she had enough money, enough help. No one asked if she was happy. "No," she whispered, "I'm not." "Neither am I." She looked at him in the dim light. "But you're marrying Kamsi. You said you love her." "I do love her. She's kind and beautiful and perfect." He paused. "But when I'm with her, I feel like I'm playing a role, being who she needs me to be. And when you're here, when I'm here, I feel like myself." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Mama Onyinye should have stood up, should have ended this, should have sent him away and told him never to come back without Kamsi. Instead, she said, "You should probably go." "I know." But he didn't move, and neither did she. They sat in the growing darkness, not touching, barely speaking, but connected by something neither could name. When he finally left, Mama Onyinye sat alone in the dark parlor for a long time. "This is dangerous," a voice in her head warned. "This will end badly." But another voice, quieter but more insistent, whispered, "But you're not alone. For the first time in 3 years, you're not alone." And God help her, that second voice was winning. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. Kamsi had gone to Uyo for a work conference. She'd be back on Sunday. Ebu Bey showed up on Thursday evening. "I know I shouldn't be here," he said at the door, "but I couldn't stay away." Mama Onyinye should have turned him away. Should have protected her daughter, protected herself, protected all of them from what was coming. She let him in. They sat in the parlor. The tension was different tonight, heavier, more urgent. "We need to talk about this," Mama Onyinye said, "about whatever this is." "I know. You're marrying my daughter in 6 weeks. I know. This is wrong. What we're doing, even just sitting here, it's wrong. I know. Then why are you here?" Ebu Bey leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Because I can't stop thinking about you. Because when I'm with Kamsi, I'm wishing I was here. Because I think I'm making a terrible mistake marrying her when I feel like this." The words should have filled Mama Onyinye with joy. Instead, they filled her with dread. "You can't call off the wedding. It would destroy her." "I know. And you can't. We can't." She couldn't even say the words. "I know. Then what do we do?" "I don't know." He looked up at her, and his eyes were full of pain. "I don't know." Mama Onyinye stood up, needing to move, needing to put distance between them. "You should go, right now, and don't come back. Not without Kamsi. This ends tonight." "Does it?" "It has to. And if I can't, if I come back anyway, then I won't let you in. Are you sure about that?" The challenge in his voice made her turn to face him. He was standing now too. They were only a few feet apart. "Yes," she said, but her voice wavered. "Prove it. Tell me to leave. Tell me you never want to see me again. Ebu Bey, say it." She opened her mouth. The words should have been easy. Simple. "Leave. Don't come back. This is over." But they wouldn't come, because she didn't want him to leave. She didn't want this to be over. She wanted, God help her, she wanted him. "I can't," she whispered. And then he crossed the space between them and kissed her. It was everything and nothing like she'd imagined. Desperate, hungry, wrong, but also right in a way that terrified her. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer even as her mind screamed at her to stop. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the reality crashed down. "Oh God," Mama Onyinye gasped. "Oh God, what have we done? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have." "No, you shouldn't have. We shouldn't have." She backed away from him, wrapping her arms around herself. "You need to leave, now." "Mama, Onyinye, don't call me that, don't." Her voice broke. "Just go, please, just go." This time he went, and Mama Onyinye sank to the floor, her back against the wall, and wept, not from regret. That would come later. She wept because for one moment she hadn't been alone. And now the loneliness was back, sharper than ever. After that night, Abu Bey stayed away for a week. Kamsi came back from Uyo excited about the conference, full of plans for the wedding. Only 5 weeks left, Mama. Can you believe it? Mama Onyinye couldn't believe any of this was happening. Have you heard from Abu Bey? Kamsi asked. He's been strange lately, distant. Guilt twisted in Mama Onyinye's stomach. Maybe he's just stressed about the wedding. Maybe I'll talk to him. Don't, Mama Onyinye wanted to say. Don't talk to him, don't marry him, don't trust him. But she said nothing. The week stretched into 2. Abu Bey didn't visit, didn't call. Mama Onyinye told herself it was for the best. They'd made a mistake and now they were correcting it. She tried to feel relieved. Instead, she felt hollow. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, he came back. It was late afternoon. Mama Onyinye was in the garden, tending to her plants, Nonso's tomatoes that she still maintained out of stubborn grief. She looked up, and he was there, standing at the garden gate. "I tried to stay away," he said without preamble. "I tried, but I can't do this anymore." "Abu Bey, don't... I'm calling off the wedding." The words hung in the air like a bomb. "What?" No, you can't. I can't marry her, not feeling like this. It wouldn't be fair to her." "It wouldn't be fair?" Mama Onyinye laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You think calling it off 3 weeks before the wedding would be fair? It's better than marrying her while in love with you." There it was. The words said aloud, no more pretending. "You're not in love with me. It's just loneliness, confusion. It'll pass." "Will it?" He stepped into the garden. "Because I've tried to make it pass. I've avoided you. I've tried to focus on Kamsi. I've done everything except forget you. Then try harder." "I can't." "You have to." Mama Onyinye's voice rose. "You cannot call off this wedding. Do you understand what that would do to her? The shame, the gossip. People would ask why. They'd dig. They'd find out. And if they found out about us, even just a kiss, it would destroy her. So what do you suggest? That I marry her while loving you?" "Yes, if that's what it takes." The words echoed through the garden, brutal in their honesty. Abu Bey stared at her. "You really mean that?" "I mean that my daughter's happiness is more important than whatever this is between us." "And what about your happiness?" "My happiness doesn't matter. It matters to me." The tenderness in his voice nearly broke her. "It can't," she whispered. "It can't matter. You have to marry her. You have to make this work. And if I can't? Then you fake it. You pretend. You do whatever it takes to make her happy." She turned away, unable to look at him. That's what love is. Sacrifice. That's not love. That's martyrdom. "Then I'll be a martyr, but I won't be the woman who stole her daughter's husband." "We didn't..." "One kiss, that's all it takes. One kiss and we've already betrayed her." She heard him move closer behind her but didn't turn. "After the wedding," he said quietly, "will I still be able to see you? Visit?" "No." "Never?" "Never." So these last few weeks are all we get. The silence stretched between them, heavy with all the things they couldn't say, couldn't have, couldn't be. "Then I want more," Abu Bey said. "More what?" "More time, before it's over. Before I have to be your son-in-law forever and pretend I don't love you." Every instinct told Mama Onyinye to say no, to send him away, to end this before they crossed a line they couldn't uncross. But she was so tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of being strong. Tired of always doing the right thing. "When Kamsi works late," she heard herself say, "you can come, but just to talk. Nothing more." "Nothing more," he agreed. It was a lie, they both knew it. But they told it anyway. For the next 3 weeks, Abu Bey came to Mama Onyinye's house whenever Kamsi worked late. They told themselves they were just talking, just providing comfort, just being friends. But lines were blurring. He would hold her hand while they sat on the couch. She would rest her head on his shoulder. Sometimes they would kiss, soft, tender kisses that felt like goodbye and hello all at once. They never went further than that. They had rules, boundaries. But the boundaries were getting thinner. One night, 2 weeks before the wedding, things nearly went too far. They were on the couch, closer than usual. Ebubé's hand was in her hair, her fingers were tracing patterns on his chest. "We should stop," Mama Onyinye whispered, but didn't move away. "I know." His lips found her neck. She gasped. "Ebubé." I know we should stop." But his hands were sliding down her back, and she was arching into his touch, and they were both breathing hard. "Not here," she managed. Not the bedroom. We said not the bedroom." "Okay, not the bedroom." But they were horizontal now, on the couch, and his weight was on her, and it would be so easy to... A car door slammed outside. They froze. Voices, laughter, getting closer. "Chineke." Mama Onyinye shoved Ebubé off her and scrambled to sitting. "Someone's here." They had barely straightened their clothes when there was a knock at the gate. "Mama, it's me." Kamsi. Panic flooded through Mama Onyinye. "Go," she hissed at Ebubé. "Out the back, now." "I can't just leave." "Go!" He went, slipping out through the kitchen as Mama Onyinye rushed to open the gate. "Kamsi, what are you doing here? I thought you were working late." "I was, but I finished early and thought I'd surprise you." Kamsi hugged her mother. "Were you sleeping? You look flushed." Just warm." The fan wasn't working. Kamsi stepped into the compound, chattering about her day. And Mama Onyinye followed, her heart pounding, knowing how close they'd come to disaster. That night, after Kamsi left, Mama Onyinye sat alone in her parlor and faced the truth. This couldn't continue. They were spiraling out of control. 1 more week until the wedding. 1 more week, and then it would be over. She just had to hold on. But the next night, Ebubé came back. "We need to stop this," Mama Onyinye said as soon as he walked in. "We almost got caught. Kamsi almost..." He kissed her, hard and desperate. "I know," he said against her mouth. "I know we need to stop, but I can't. I've tried. I can't." And God forgive her, neither could she. They made out on her couch like teenagers, hands everywhere, gasping each other's names. But they didn't go further, still held that last line. When he left that night, Mama Onyinye knew it was the last time. It had to be. 1 more week. Then he would marry Kamsi. Then it would be over. Then she could begin the long, painful process of forgetting him. She didn't know then that it wouldn't be over. She didn't know that the wedding night would destroy everything. She didn't know that some lines, once approached, pull you across whether you want to cross them or not. She only knew that she was standing at the edge of an abyss. And she was too tired to step back. The morning of the wedding arrived with cruel sunshine. Mama Onyinye woke early, her eyes swollen from crying, her body heavy with dread. She had to get through today, had to smile, had to play the role of the happy mother. And then it would be over. The traditional ceremony was at noon. Mama Onyinye arrived early to help Kamsi prepare. Her daughter was radiant, nervous and excited, and glowing with happiness. "Mama, help me with my girl?" Kamsi asked, holding up the elaborate head wrap. Mama Onyinye's hands shook slightly as she arranged the fabric. "You're beautiful, Nawam," she said, and meant it. "I'm so happy," Kamsi whispered. "I love him so much. I can't believe this is really happening." Each word was a knife in Mama Onyinye's heart. "He's a good man," she forced herself to say. "He'll take care of you." "I know. And Mama, thank you for everything, for raising me, for supporting us, for being here." Kamsi turned and hugged her mother tightly. "I love you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you." Mama Onyinye closed her eyes, holding her daughter, memorizing this moment. Because after today, things would never be the same. Even if Kamsi never learned the truth, Mama Onyinye would know, would carry the weight of this betrayal forever. "I love you too," she whispered. The ceremony was beautiful. Traditional rites, prayers, wine sharing, the joining of 2 families. Ebubé and Kamsi sat side by side, resplendent in their traditional attire. Mama Onyinye watched from the family seats, her face carefully composed. Ebu Bey didn't look at her, not once. Good. That was good. That meant he'd accepted reality. But then, during the wine ceremony, as Kamsi lifted the cup to Ebu Bey's lips, his eyes flickered up. Just for a second. They found Mama Onyinye in the crowd. And in that glance, she saw everything. Pain, longing, resignation. Goodbye. She looked away quickly, her hands clenched in her lap. Get through this, she told herself. Just get through this. The reception was worse. Hundreds of people dancing, eating, celebrating. Kamsi and Ebu Bey at the high table, feeding each other cake, laughing, playing the perfect couple. Mama Onyinye smiled through it all, accepted congratulations, posed for photos. Died a little more with each passing hour. Until the mother-son dance. Traditionally, the groom would dance with his mother, then with his new mother-in-law. When Ebu Bey's mother finished her dance, the MC called for Mama Onyinye. And now, the groom will dance with his new mama. Come, Mama Onyinye. She had no choice. Everyone was watching. Clapping. Expecting. She walked to the dance floor on legs that felt like lead. Ebu Bey stood waiting, his expression carefully neutral. The music started, a slow traditional song. He placed one hand on her waist, took her hand with the other. Proper, respectful, the appropriate distance for a mother-in-law dance. But the moment they started moving, Mama Onyinye felt it. The electricity, the connection, the unbearable rightness of being in his arms. Smile, he murmured. People are watching. She did. A bright fake smile for the cameras. This is torture, he breathed, his voice barely audible over the music. I know. I'm sorry for everything. Don't. Not here. They turned slowly, maintaining the facade. To everyone watching, it looked perfect. A tender moment between a groom and his new mother-in-law. No one could see the agony beneath. After tonight, we'll never be this close again, Ebu Bey said. I know. I need you to know that I'll try. To be a good husband. To make her happy. That's all I ask. The song was ending. Their time was running out. Mama Onyinye, don't. I love you. The words hit her like a physical blow. Don't, she repeated, but her voice broke. The music stopped. Applause erupted around them. They separated and the MC was already calling the next family member up to dance. Mama Onyinye returned to her seat, her smile still in place, her heart in pieces. The evening ceremony at the church was shorter, more modern. Western vows, white dress, I do's that echoed through the sanctuary. Then it was over, rice thrown, photos taken. The happy couple whisked away to their hotel, and Mama Onyinye felt something inside her die. She went through the motions of saying goodbye to guests, helped clean up, smiled through the exhaustion. At midnight, she finally made it back to her empty house. She took off her gold wrapper and elaborate hairstyle, washed away the makeup that had hidden her pain. And then she sat on her bed and stared at nothing. It was over. Really over. Ebu Bey was married now, Kamsi's husband, in a hotel room with her daughter, beginning their life together. The thought made her sick. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I can't do this. I'm leaving the hotel. I need to see you. I'm coming to your house. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. But I can't stay away anymore. Mama Onyinye stared at the message in horror. No. No, no, no. This was insane. This was disaster. He'd just gotten married hours ago. Kamsi was waiting for him in the hotel room. She typed back frantically, No, don't come here. Go back to your wife. This is madness. The response came immediately. I'm already on my way. I left. I told her I needed cigarettes. I know it's wrong. I know it's terrible. But I can't spend my wedding night with her when all I can think about is you. Mama Onyinye's hands shook so badly she could barely type. Ebu Bey, please. Think about what you're doing. Go back. Now. Before she gets suspicious. I can't. I need to see you. Just one more time. Then I'll go back. I promise. This was spiraling out of control. This was everything she'd feared. But even as panic flooded through her, a darker voice whispered, "He's coming. He chose you. He left his bride on their wedding night to come to you." The voice was intoxicating, dangerous. Wrong. Mama Onyinye forced herself to type, "If you come here, I won't let you in. I mean it, Ebu Bey. Stay at the hotel, be the husband she deserves." No response. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then she heard a car pull into her compound. No. God, no. She rushed to the window and looked out. Ebu Bey was climbing out of his car, still in his wedding clothes, his face desperate. He came to the door, knocked. "Mama Onyinye, please, I know you're awake, let me in." She should ignore him, should call him a taxi and send him back to the hotel. Instead, she found herself unlocking the door. He looked terrible, eyes wild, hair disheveled, like a man on the edge of breaking. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Your wife is waiting for you." I know it's wrong. I know I'm destroying everything." He stepped inside, forcing her to back up. "But I couldn't do it. I couldn't lie in that bed with her and pretend. Not tonight, not after..." After what? After marrying her? After making vows in front of God and 300 people? After she trusted you with her whole heart? After dancing with you? His voice rose. After holding you in my arms and knowing it was the last time? After watching you walk away and realizing I'd just married the wrong woman? Don't say that. It's true, I love you, Mama Onyinye, not her. You. She's your wife? I know. He grabbed her shoulders. I know, and I hate myself for it, but knowing it doesn't change how I feel. They were shouting now, all the weeks of restraint, all the careful control, shattering into rage and desperation. "You need to leave," Mama Onyinye said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Right now, before you do something you can't take back." "I already did. The moment I said I do to her while loving you, I did something I can't take back." "Then don't make it worse." "How could it be worse? I'm already in hell." "You want to know how it could be worse?" Mama Onyinye's voice was cold now. "You could give in to this feeling. You could kiss me. You could take me to my bedroom. And then tomorrow you'd have to look your wife in the eye knowing you betrayed her on your wedding night. That's how it could be worse." Ebu Bey's hands fell from her shoulders. He stepped back, the fight draining out of him. You're right. I shouldn't be here. No, you shouldn't. I'll go back. I'll tell her there was a long line at the store. She's not stupid, Ebu Bey. She'll know something's wrong. Then what do I tell her? The truth. That you were overwhelmed, that you needed air, that marriage is scary and you panicked. Mama Onyinye's voice softened despite herself. Just don't tell her about me. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry for all of this. For being weak. Just go. He turned toward the door, then stopped. Mama Onyinye? What? If I go back now, this really is the end, isn't it? We can never, she confirmed. This was goodbye. He stood there for a long moment, his back to her. Then, without another word, he walked out into the night. Mama Onyinye watched his car drive away, and she truly believed, that it was over. She believed he would go back to the hotel, back to Kamsi, back to his marriage. She believed the worst had passed. She was wrong. Ebu Bey drove back to the hotel in a daze. What had he been thinking? Leaving Kamsi on their wedding night, going to her mother's house? He was losing his mind. But as he pulled into the hotel parking lot, he couldn't make himself get out of the car. He sat there, engine off, staring up at the lit windows of the honeymoon suite. Kamsi was up there, waiting for him, probably worried, definitely wondering what was taking so long. He should go up, apologize, make up an excuse, consummate the marriage like a good husband. But the thought of it made him nauseous. He pulled out his phone, stared at it. Then, before he could stop himself, he sent one more text, not to Kamsi, to Mama Onyinye. I can't go back up there. I'm in the parking lot. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes. I can't do it. What's wrong with me? The response came quickly. You're having cold feet. It's normal. Take a deep breath. Think about why you married her. Then go upstairs and be the husband you promised to be. What if I can't? You have to. Come to the hotel. Mama Onyinye's response was immediate. Absolutely not. Please, just for a moment, just to talk. I need to see you. I need you to help me do this. Ebube, no, this is insane. I know, but I'm begging you. Please, I can't do this alone. A long pause. Then, where are you? Parking lot, east side. He waited. 5 minutes, 10. Then he saw her car pull in. She was still in her gold wrapper from the wedding. Hair slightly messy now, makeup smudged. She looked as exhausted and broken as he felt. She got into his car without a word. They sat in silence for a moment. This is the stupidest thing either of us has ever done, Mama Onyinye finally said. I know. Your wife is upstairs waiting for you. I know. And I'm down here in a parking lot like a fool. I know. So tell me what you need to hear so you can go back up there and I can go home. Ebube turned to look at her. I need you to tell me that I did the right thing. Marrying her. That even though I love you, I made the right choice. You did. Say it like you mean it. Mama Onyinye took a deep breath. You married a good woman who loves you completely, who will be faithful to you, who will build a life with you. You did the right thing. And us? There is no us. There was never going to be an us. We're just two lonely people who found each other at the wrong time. It didn't feel wrong. It was wrong anyway. Ebube reached over and took her hand. She should pull away, should slap him, should get out of the car and drive home. She didn't. I need to say goodbye, he said. Really say it. Not like before. Not with anger or tears. Just goodbye. Mama Onyinye nodded, tears streaming down her face. Goodbye, Ebube. Goodbye. They sat like that, hands clasped, crying silently in the dark parking lot. And then Ebube leaned over and kissed her. It wasn't supposed to happen. Both of them had sworn it wouldn't. But grief and desperation and weeks of suppressed longing all converged in that moment. The kiss was soft at first, gentle, a farewell, but then it deepened, became hungry, desperate, all the restraint they'd maintained for months shattering in seconds. We can't, Mama Onyinye gasped between kisses. I know. This is wrong. I know. But neither of them stopped. Ebube's hand tangled in her hair. Her fingers clutched his shoulders. Years of loneliness, weeks of denial. A wedding night that should have been spent with someone else. All of it culminated in this terrible, beautiful, unforgivable moment. Come upstairs, Ebube whispered against her mouth. Reality crashed back in. What? No. No, absolutely. She's asleep by now. Probably took something because I was gone so long. The room has 2 sections. A sitting area separate from the bedroom. We can just talk. You're insane. Maybe. But I can't let you go. Not yet. Please, just a little longer. Every rational part of Mama Onyinye screamed at her to refuse, to get out of the car, to drive away and never look back. But she was tired of being rational, tired of being strong, tired of denying herself. For once, just once, she wanted to be selfish. If anyone sees us, the elevators are around back. No one will see. Ebube, please. She shouldn't have said yes. Should have slapped him and driven away. Should have remembered that she was a mother, that Kamsi was upstairs, that this was the most dangerous thing she could possibly do. But loneliness is a terrible thing. It erodes judgment, makes you do things you never imagined you were capable of. And Mama Onyinye had been lonely for so long. 5 minutes, she heard herself say. Just to talk, then I leave. 5 minutes. They got out of the car, moved through the shadows toward the back entrance. The hotel was quiet. Most guests were asleep. The lobby was empty except for a drowsy night clerk who didn't look up from his phone. They took the service elevator, rode up in silence, not touching, both knowing they were crossing a line they could never uncross. When the doors opened on the honeymoon floor, Mama Onyinye almost turned back. "This is madness. Your daughter is sleeping down that hall. Turn back now." But Ebube took her hand, and she followed. He led her to a different room. "Not the honeymoon suite. I booked this separately," he explained quietly. "For storage, for changing. Kamsi doesn't know about it." He unlocked the door. They stepped inside. The room was smaller than the honeymoon suite. A regular hotel room with a queen bed, a desk, a chair. Nothing special, nothing romantic. But to two people who'd been denying themselves for months, it might as well have been paradise. "We shouldn't be here," Mama Onyinye said, but she didn't move toward the door. "I know. Your wife is sleeping 3 doors down. I know. This is the worst thing we could possibly do. I know." But neither of them left. They stood there, facing each other, the weight of what they were about to do pressing down on them. "If we do this," Mama Onyinye whispered, "there's no going back. We can never undo it. It will always be between us and her." "I know. We'll have to live with it for the rest of our lives." "I know. It will destroy her if she ever finds out." "I know." "Then why are we still standing here?" Ebube crossed the space between them in 2 steps. "Because I can't breathe without you, because I'm dying inside. Because right or wrong, I need you more than I need air." He kissed her, hard, desperate, and Mama Onyinye kissed him back with equal desperation. All the weeks of restraint, all the careful control, all the proper distance. Gone. They stumbled toward the bed, shedding clothes, abandoning reason, crossing every line they'd sworn never to cross. "We can't," Mama Onyinye gasped, even as her hands pulled him closer. "We are," Ebube said against her skin, and they did. On Kamsi's wedding night, in the same hotel where she slept in her wedding dress, her husband and her mother betrayed her in the worst possible way. Mama Onyinye knew, even in the midst of it, that this was unforgivable. She knew this was wrong, knew that no excuse, no justification, no amount of loneliness could make this right. Her daughter, her own flesh and blood, was sleeping in the next room while Mama Onyinye betrayed her in the worst possible way. But in that moment, with Ebube's hands on her skin and his breath in her ear and the feeling of being wanted consuming her, she couldn't stop. They moved together in the darkness, desperate, hungry, as if they could somehow make up for all the years of loneliness in one stolen hour, as if the intensity could justify the horror of what they were doing. Outside the door, the hotel slept. In the other bedroom, Kamsi slept too, trusting, innocent, completely unaware that on her wedding night, her husband and her mother were committing the ultimate betrayal just meters away. Time blurred. 1 hour became 2. And when it was over, when they lay tangled together in the rumpled sheets, reality came crashing back with devastating clarity. "Chineke," Mama Onyinye whispered. "Chineke, what have we done?" Ebube said nothing, just stared at the ceiling, his face a mask of horror. They'd crossed the line, destroyed everything, committed an act so unforgivable that there was no coming back from it. "I need to leave," Mama Onyinye said, scrambling up. "Now, before she wakes up." Mama Onyinye, Don't say anything. Just forget this happened. Go back to your wife. Be a husband to her." "How am I supposed to?" "I don't know." Her voice was rising. "But you have to figure it out. Because if she ever finds out about this..." They both knew. If Kamsi ever learned the truth, it would destroy her completely. Mama Onyinye gathered her clothes with shaking hands, dressed quickly. Every second felt like hours. "I'm sorry," Ebube whispered. "I'm so sorry." "So am I." She moved toward the door of the suite, listened carefully. No sound from the main bedroom. Kamsi was still asleep, thank God. Mama Onyinye opened the door a crack. The hallway was empty. She looked back at Ebube one last time. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, looking broken. "Goodbye," she said, and meant it in every sense of the word. She slipped out into the hall, took the stairs instead of the elevator, emerged into the still dark parking lot. In her car, she sat with the engine off, staring at nothing. What had she done? What had they done? She'd betrayed her daughter on her wedding night, in the same hotel, in the same suite. The horror of it was so immense she couldn't process it. She drove home in a fog, parked, walked into her empty house, and then she collapsed on the floor and sobbed until dawn broke. For 3 days, Mama Onyinye waited for the phone to ring, for Kamsi to call, hysterical, demanding to know the truth. But the call didn't come. Instead, Kamsi sent cheerful texts about the honeymoon, photos of beaches and sunsets. Having an amazing time, Ebu Bey is the best husband ever, love you mama. Each message was a knife twisting in Mama Onyinye's gut. Either Kamsi had no idea what happened, or she was in such deep denial that she was pretending everything was fine. Mama Onyinye prayed it was the former. She hadn't heard from Ebu Bey. Not a text, not a call, nothing. Good. That was how it should be. They'd made their terrible mistake, and now they would live with it in silence. She began making plans to move away. Started looking at apartments in other towns. Places where she could disappear and rebuild some semblance of a life. But then, a week after the wedding, Kamsi came to visit. She arrived without warning, pulling into the compound mid-afternoon. Mama Onyinye's heart stopped when she saw the car. She knows, she found out. This is it. But when Kamsi got out, she was smiling, glowing. Surprise, Mama, I brought lunch. Not the face of a woman who'd discovered her husband's betrayal. Kamsi, what are you doing here? I thought you were still on honeymoon. We got back yesterday. I wanted to see you. She bounced up the steps with bags of food. Mama Onyinye's hands shook as she unlocked the door. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Come, let's eat and talk. I have so much to tell you. They sat at the kitchen table. Kamsi unpacked fried rice, chicken, plantains. And she talked about the honeymoon, about the beach, about their plans for the future. Ebu Bey's been a bit distant since we got back, she admitted. I think he's stressed about work, but we had such an amazing time in Zanzibar. Distant. Of course he was distant. How could he not be? That's normal, Mama Onyinye managed. Marriage is an adjustment. I know, but Mama... Kamsi leaned forward, her eyes bright. The wedding night was so strange. Mama Onyinye's blood turned to ice. Strange how? Well, he disappeared for like 2 hours. Said he needed cigarettes, but he doesn't even smoke. And when he came back, he was so, I don't know, off. Like his mind was somewhere else. Every word was a hammer blow. Did you ask him about it? I tried. He just said he was nervous, that he'd taken a drive to clear his head. I believed him at the time, but now... She paused. Do you think he's having second thoughts about us? The irony was so cruel, Mama Onyinye wanted to scream. I'm sure he's just adjusting, she said carefully. Marriage is a big change. You're probably right. But Kamsi didn't look convinced. Mama, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think he loves me? Really loves me? Or did he just marry me because it was expected? The question hung in the air. Mama Onyinye could tell the truth. Could end her daughter's pain now instead of letting it drag out. But looking at Kamsi's hopeful face, her innocent trust, Mama Onyinye couldn't do it. He loves you, she lied. I'm sure of it. Kamsi smiled, relieved. Thank you, I needed to hear that. They finished lunch. Kamsi chatted about their apartment, their plans, her job. And Mama Onyinye smiled and nodded and died inside. When Kamsi finally left, Mama Onyinye sat in her kitchen and made a decision. She would never tell, never confess. Would carry this secret to her grave. It was the least she owed her daughter, the very least. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. 2 weeks later, Kamsi came back. And this time she wasn't smiling. She walked into the house with her face pale, her eyes red from crying. Mama, she said, her voice shaking, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Mama Onyinye felt the world tilt. What is it? On our wedding night. Did Ebu Bey come here? Time stopped. What? No, why would you? Don't lie to me, Kamsi's voice broke. I found hotel parking receipts with timestamps. He left our room at 11 p.m. and didn't come back until 2 a.m. The receipts show his car leaving and coming back. But in between, she pulled out her phone, showed Mama Onyinye a screenshot, cell phone location data showing Ebu Bey's phone at her address for over an hour on their wedding night. "He came here," Kamsi said flatly. "On our wedding night, while I was waiting for him, he came to see you." Mama Onyinye opened her mouth, closed it. Her mind raced, searching for a lie, an excuse, anything. He was confused, she finally managed. Having cold feet, he just needed someone to talk to. For an hour, in the middle of our wedding night? Yes, he was panicking about the marriage. I told him to go back to you. I told him... What else? Kamsi's eyes were blazing now. What else happened, Mama? Nothing. I swear, nothing. Then why has he been acting so strange? Why does he look at me like he's guilty of something? Why does he flinch every time I mention your name? The evidence was piling up, the truth pressing closer. Kamsi, please. And why? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Why do I feel like my own mother is lying to me? The silence that followed was deafening. He came here because he was scared, Mama Onyinye said, choosing each word carefully. He was having last-minute doubts. I talked him through it. Then he went back to you. That's all that happened. It wasn't technically a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. Kamsi stared at her for a long moment. You swear? On Daddy's grave, you swear that's all that happened? Invoking Nonso's memory, the worst possible weapon. I swear, Mama Onyinye said, and felt her soul shrivel. Kamsi's shoulders sagged. Okay. Okay. I believe you. But there was doubt in her eyes, a crack in the trust between them. I think I need to go home, she said quietly. I need to talk to Ebu Bey. Kamsi, don't, Mama, just don't. She left without hugging goodbye, without her usual affectionate farewell. And Mama Onyinye knew with terrible certainty that even though the full truth hadn't come out, the damage was done. The relationship between them had changed, been poisoned by secrets and lies, and the betrayal Kamsi could sense but not prove. That evening, Mama Onyinye's phone rang. Ebu Bey's number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. She knows, he said without preamble. Not everything, but enough. What are we going to do? There's nothing we can do except lie, and hope she believes us. This is killing her, Ebu Bey, killing our relationship. Maybe we should just tell her. Are you insane? If we tell her the truth, she'll never recover. At least this way. This way what? She lives in suspicion? Never fully trusts either of us again? That's better? Yes. His voice was harsh, because the alternative is her knowing that her mother and her husband slept together on her wedding night. That's not something anyone recovers from. He was right. Mama Onyinye knew he was right, but living with this lie was its own kind of torture. We made our choice, Ebu Bey said, his voice heavy. Now we live with it. He hung up, and Mama Onyinye sat in her dark house, alone, realizing that the punishment for her sin had only just begun. The next 3 months were hell on earth. The video went viral, not just locally, nationally, internationally. Nigerian wedding scandal, mother-in-law caught with son-in-law on wedding night. It was everywhere. WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, millions of views, thousands of comments, all of them brutal. Abomination. How could a mother do this to her own daughter? She should be stoned. What kind of evil is this? Mama Onyinye's church expelled her from the congregation, called her before the elders and publicly denounced her sin. Her friends stopped calling, her neighbors stopped greeting her. Women would cross the street rather than walk past her. Men would spit at her feet. Someone threw stones through her windows. Someone else painted Jezebel on her gate in red paint. She couldn't leave her house without being recognized, harassed, cursed. The few times she tried to go to the market, vendors refused to sell to her. "We don't serve people like you," they said with disgust. She was a pariah, untouchable, marked. Kamsi filed for annulment immediately. The marriage had been consummated on the wedding night, in the honeymoon suite, after Kamsi had dragged herself back there alone, too shocked to think straight. So annulment wasn't possible on those grounds, but she filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery, infidelity, betrayal. No one fought it. Ebube signed the papers immediately. The divorce was granted within 6 weeks, a record speed in Nigeria, facilitated by the sheer notoriety of the case. Kamsi moved to another city, changed her name, started over completely. She deleted all social media, cut ties with everyone who knew about the scandal, and she never spoke to her mother again. Mama Onyinye tried to reach out, called, texted, wrote letters. All of them went unanswered. Finally, 6 months after the scandal, she received a single message from a number she didn't recognize. "Stop contacting me. You are dead to me. If you ever try to see me again, I will get a restraining order. I mean it, Mama. Stay away. You destroyed my life. The least you can do is let me rebuild it without you." K. It was the last communication they would have for years. 2 months after the scandal, Mama Onyinye tried to kill herself. She took a bottle of sleeping pills and lay down in her bed, ready to escape the nightmare her life had become. But a neighbor, one of the few who didn't openly hate her, noticed she hadn't opened her curtains in 3 days. The neighbor called the police. They broke down the door, found her unconscious, rushed her to the hospital. They pumped her stomach, saved her life. She woke up 3 days later, furious that they'd intervened. "Why didn't you just let me die?" she asked the doctor. "Because suicide is not the answer," he said gently, "no matter how dark things seem." But for Mama Onyinye, death seemed like the only escape. She was discharged into the care of a psychiatric unit, spent 2 weeks under observation. They put her on antidepressants, made her attend therapy, watched her constantly to ensure she didn't try again. The therapist was kind but direct. "You made a terrible mistake," the woman said, "one that hurt a lot of people, but you're still alive. You still have a chance to make something of your remaining years. Don't waste that chance." "What's the point?" Mama Onyinye asked. "Everyone hates me. My daughter hates me. I have nothing." "Then build something new. Not for redemption, you may never get that, but for yourself, to prove that you're more than your worst mistake." It sounded impossible, but slowly, painfully, Mama Onyinye began to try. She couldn't stay in Naiwi. The harassment was too much. So she sold her house, at a loss, because everyone knew who she was and no one wanted to buy from that woman. She packed what little she had left and moved to a city 3 states away, a place where no one knew her face, where she could disappear into anonymity. She found a small flat in a rundown neighborhood, got a job cleaning offices at night. It was humiliating work for a woman who'd once been respected in her community, but it was work, and it kept her busy, kept her from drowning in despair. She lived quietly, kept to herself, avoided making friends or connections, because she knew that eventually someone would recognize her. Someone would remember the scandal. And she'd have to move again. It happened twice in the first year. Both times, someone saw her and gasped, "You're that woman, the one from the video." And the cycle would start again, whispers, pointing, harassment. So she'd pack up and move to another city, start over, again and again, a nomad, an exile, forever running from her past. 3 years after the scandal, Mama Onyinye wrote a letter to Kamsi. She knew she'd been told not to contact her, knew it would probably be thrown away unread. But she had to try, had to say what was in her heart. She spent weeks writing it, rewriting it, trying to find words adequate to express her remorse. Finally, she sent it to the address of Kamsi's old workplace, hoping it would be forwarded. "Nawam Kamsi, I know you told me not to contact you. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this, even if you never read it. I am sorry, more sorry than any words can express. I destroyed your wedding night. I destroyed your marriage. I destroyed your trust in the people who should have protected you most. There is no excuse for what I did. No justification. I was lonely, yes. I was weak, yes. But those are reasons, not excuses. I had 1,000 opportunities to stop it from happening, and I chose not to. I chose my own desires over your well-being, and that is unforgivable. You were right to cut me out of your life. I deserve that and more. You owe me nothing. Not forgiveness, not understanding, nothing. But I want you to know some things. First, what happened was not your fault. You did nothing wrong. You were a victim of two selfish, broken people who should have been better. Second, your father would be ashamed of me. I have failed his memory and failed you. I carry that knowledge every day. Third, I think about you constantly. I pray for you daily. I hope you have found happiness, peace, and a life free from the pain I caused. Fourth, I will never stop being sorry, even if you never forgive me, even if we never speak again. I will carry this guilt to my grave. And finally, you deserved better. Better than me as a mother, better than Abu Bey as a husband. I hope you have found or will find people who give you the love and respect and loyalty you deserve. I'm not asking for anything. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, not even acknowledgement that you read this. I just needed to say it, to let you know that I know what I did, that I don't minimize it or make excuses, and that I will spend the rest of my life trying to be better than the person who hurt you. Live well, Warm, be happy, build a beautiful life. And if you can someday, when the pain has faded enough, forgive yourself for trusting me. You did nothing wrong. This was all me. With eternal regret and love. Your mother. She didn't expect a response, and for months there wasn't one. But then, 4 years after the scandal, a letter arrived at her current address. It was forwarded through several previous addresses. The envelope was worn and creased. Inside was a single page. No greeting, no signature. Just words in Kamsi's handwriting. I read your letter, all of it, many times. I don't forgive you. I'm not sure I ever will. But I want you to know that I'm okay. I'm married to a good man. We're expecting a baby. I'm building a life. I'm telling you this not because I want you in my life. I don't. But because I know you'll torture yourself wondering. And even after everything, I don't want you to torture yourself. So know this. I survived. I'm happy. I have a future. And you can let go of the guilt enough to have one too. Don't contact me. Don't try to see me. Don't come to my city or look for my child. This is closure for both of us. Live your life, Mama. Whatever's left of it. Kai. Mama Onyinye read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and put it in a box with the other precious things she'd saved. Kamsi had called her Mama just once, at the end. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation, but it was something. A crack in the wall, a tiny sliver of light in the darkness. Kamsi had survived, was happy, had a baby coming, and she'd given Mama Onyinye permission to stop torturing herself. It was more grace than Mama Onyinye deserved, more than she'd ever hoped for. She sat in her small flat and cried. Not from sadness this time, but from something like relief. The punishment would continue, the shame would remain. The loneliness would be her companion until the day she died. But maybe, just maybe, she could stop drowning in it. Maybe she could learn to live with it instead of just enduring it. Maybe that was all the redemption she would ever get. And maybe, somehow, that would be enough. Mama Onyinye lived quietly. She moved to an even smaller town, found work in a library, kept to herself. She never married again, never dated, never looked for connection. She'd learned her lesson about desire and loneliness and the damage they could cause. Some nights she still thought about Abu Bey, wondered where he was, if he was happy, if he'd found peace. She hoped he had, despite everything. She heard through distant channels that Kamsi had 2 children now, a boy and a girl, that she'd been promoted at work, that her marriage was strong. Mama Onyinye would never meet those grandchildren, would never hold them or know them or be part of their lives. It was the price she paid, and she paid it without complaint. One Sunday, 7 years after the scandal, Mama Onyinye was in church, a different church, far from anyone who knew her story, when the pastor spoke about redemption. "Some sins seem unforgivable," he said, "some mistakes too big to overcome. But God's grace is bigger than our worst failures. If we truly repent, if we truly change, there is hope for even the most broken among us." Mama Onyinye sat in the back pew and let the words wash over her. Did she believe them? She wasn't sure. But she wanted to, desperately she wanted to. After church, an older woman approached her. "You look troubled, sister." "I've done terrible things," Mama Onyinye said quietly. "Unforgivable things." "We all have." The woman smiled gently. "But we're still here, still breathing, still given chances to do better. That has to count for something." Maybe it did. Maybe living with the consequences, truly accepting them, truly changing, maybe that was its own kind of redemption. Not the fairy tale kind where everything was forgiven and forgotten, but the real kind, where you carried your scars, where you acknowledged your failures, where you spent the rest of your life trying to be better than the person you'd been. Mama Onyinye would never be the person she was before the scandal. That woman was dead, destroyed by her own choices. But maybe, just maybe, she could become someone new, someone who'd learned from the worst mistake of her life, someone who used that knowledge to help others avoid the same pitfalls. It wasn't much, but it was something, and sometimes something was all you got. She thought of Kamsi often, prayed for her daily, wished her nothing but happiness. And slowly, over years, the crushing guilt began to ease. Not disappear, never disappear, but ease enough that she could breathe, enough that she could see beauty in a sunrise again, could smile at a child's laughter, could feel something other than shame. It wasn't happiness, not really, but it was life, real life, messy and painful and complicated. And after everything, after all the destruction and heartbreak and consequences, Mama Onyinye had learned to appreciate even that. She'd learned that some sins stay with you forever, that some relationships once broken can never be repaired, that some prices must be paid in full with no shortcuts or pardons. But she'd also learned that the human spirit is resilient, that we can survive even our worst moments, that we can carry unbearable weights and still keep moving forward. And perhaps most importantly, she'd learned that sometimes love, real love, means letting go, means accepting that you don't get to be part of someone's happy ending because you were the villain in their story. Kamsi was happy, had a family, had healed. And Mama Onyinye had given her that by staying away, by accepting exile, by letting her daughter live without the constant reminder of the worst betrayal of her life. It was the only decent thing she'd done in the whole terrible mess. And it would have to be enough. Some stories don't have happy endings, some betrayals are too deep to heal, some sins too heavy to be lifted. But even in the darkest stories, there can be small mercies, small moments of grace. Kamsi survived and built a beautiful life. Mama Onyinye learned to live with consequences and found a kind of peace. Abu Bey disappeared into obscurity, carrying his own guilt into whatever future awaited him. None of them got what they wanted, but they all got what they needed. Hard lessons written in blood and tears. The wedding night scandal became a cautionary tale, a story mothers told their daughters, a reminder that desire, unchecked, can destroy everything you love. Years later, in markets and churches and family gatherings, people still whispered about it. Remember that woman? The one who slept with her daughter's husband on the wedding night? And they would shake their heads in disgust and disbelief. But somewhere, in a small town where no one knew her past, Mama Onyinye heard those whispers and nodded in agreement. Yes, she thought. Remember that woman. Remember her as a warning. Remember that forbidden love always comes with a price. And that price is always, always too high. She lived with that knowledge every day for the rest of her life. And perhaps that was her real punishment. Not the exile, not the shame, not the loss of her daughter, but the knowing the absolute certainty that she had destroyed everything good in her life for one night of giving in to desire. That knowledge never left her, even years later when her hair had gone fully grey and her body had grown frail, when she looked in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back. Even then, the knowledge remained. Some sins mark you forever, some mistakes you carry to your grave. And the only thing you can do is try to make peace with the person you've become. Mama Onyinye tried. Every day she tried, and some days that was enough. Most days it wasn't. But she kept trying anyway, because that's what broken people do. They survive, they endure, they carry their crosses, even when those crosses are made of their own terrible choices. And they hope that somewhere, somehow, that suffering counts for something. That it teaches someone else not to make the same mistakes, that it serves as a warning, a beacon, a lesson written in pain. Guard your heart. Respect boundaries. Some lines once crossed can never be uncrossed, and forbidden love, no matter how intoxicating, always demands a price that will break you. Always. Mama Onyinye learned that lesson too late, but she learned it completely, and she carried it to her grave. If you enjoyed this story, I'm certain you'll enjoy the next one showing on your screen right now. Please click on the thumbnail to watch the next story. I'd appreciate your support. Like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to my channel. See you in my next story. Bye.